And some members of parliament have described as unfortunate a recent CDD Afrobarometer report, which has put MPs and parliament as the third most perceived corrupt institution, only after the police and the presidency. Speaking to JoyNews in parliament, Sanarigu MP Alhaji ABA Fuseni and MP for Botiano English Amanfro Sylvester Tete say the perception is unfair and stems from a lack of understanding of the work of MPs.
MPs being very corrupt. Yeah. With respect to what? Because there are things you don't handle and they are not monetary issues or things that are of pecuniary benefit directly. This is essentially a lawmaking. I will not for any moment say that MPs are saints and others, and for that matter, you cannot get anybody who does anything on top. I'm not saying that, but to say that the institution itself as a whole is manifestly so corrupt that it can be rated as a third, respectfully.
What do you think fits into that perception?
Maybe some people have some disappointment with Parliament, MPs, for that matter, in terms of maybe the way the situation have gone to the point that life has deteriorated sharply for most Ghanaians. And so, in that anger, they can say that you refuse to do your work well. So that's what I'm saying. It depends on the parameters within corruption has been defined. If it's sometimes neglecting to do certain duties, like exercising critical oversight over the executive, which people think that maybe the allegation will be that you have been compromised because you have not done that. But they should be cognizant of the party system. That if you have a majority in the House, they will simply use the majority to pass. And anybody can bear eloquent testimony to how we have held the feet of government to the fire of accountability. We in the opposition. So to say that everybody is...
Yeah. So why do you think people perceive that MPs are this corrupt?
Well, it's unfortunate that people could perceive MPs as third most corrupt, or Parliament as an institution for that matter. That's quite unfortunate. I haven't seen what basis they are providing for this until I see that I'll be able to comment fairly. If it's a perception, well, they need to get to reality. If you see the state of MPs, you are a parliamentary correspondent here. If you see what MPs go through, I mean, MPs are not... you don't sign checks, even at common farms. You go to the district assembly, you don't sign. You only initiate a program, and it's paid for. So I wonder how an MP could be corrupt to that extent. So let's see the report, interrogate it further. People are doing this such a survey. Perception can equally cripple this country. And I think that we should be careful how we throw out this in the public domain to undermine, and then, of course, as it were, to kill public institutions and the confidence in it. If Parliament, what we go through, and we are being bastardized to this extent, I think it leaves much to be desired, and we should be careful about that.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
For more on this, we've been joined on the line by Mavis Zupog Dome, who is Ghana National Investigator for Afrobarometer with the CDD Ghana. Now, thank you so much for your time. Can you tell us the reasons that the public assigned to their decision for putting the various institutions where they are on this table?
Good afternoon to you and your listeners. Thank you for having me. Before I actually go into giving any reasons, I would say that this is a quantitative survey, and therefore the question of why you think that somebody is involved in the act of corruption is not asked. Now, Afrobarometer do take public opinion on governance, democracy, socio-economic issues across. So far, we have done surveys up to 39 countries, and it started in 1999. And for Ghana, our sample size is 2,400, which gives us a margin of error of ±2. And we do use population proportion, and then we use randomness, and that means that every adult citizen above 18 can be interviewed. Now, basically, the question we ask is, how many of the following do you think are involved in corruption act, or haven't you heard enough? A respondent have the option of I haven't heard enough, none are involved in corruption. Some of them, all of them, or most of them. Now, when we talk of the act of corruption, it is not just about money. Corruption is not just, if you look at corruption, it's not just about money. even abuse of power to personal gain, it can be seen as corruption. So it's any illicit act that you being put in authority and trusted with a position that is termed as corruption. And you and how are people perceptions formed? It's about lived experience. At the same time, it's about the information that people hear about these people, either through their daily life or other things. So it is something that we should really take to heart what the people see about us and not hold it against the people. It is what we do and the people experience. It's what they are telling us.
So if I understand, the people were not asked why they chose a certain reason or a certain answer as to why this institution is more corrupt, right?
No, but even if you look at some of our questions, for instance, we ask about their experiences in accessing public services, right? So if you look at even the findings around that, whether you have contacted a police person, if you had to pay bribes to get the service that you needed, whether MPs do their due diligence, and whether the MPs do listen to people. All these things make people form perception. These findings can easily let you know whether they form the perception that are formed there. For instance, 4 in 10 have said that they have paid bribes either to get away from a situation they are in with the police, or have paid a bribe to get police assistance. So these, they may be perception, but they are informed by their experiences and also what is done around the society. And just this year alone, we have had a lot of issues of corruption in various offices. Some have been prosecuted. Some have been prosecuted. Some have been prosecuted out of these cases. So all these things inform people around issues of corruption in the country.
So if they say they have made payment to get a service done for them, is it in relation to all the institutions or probably some of them? Because I'm thinking, how
No,
can
so
they...
I was just making in reference, for instance, for example, the police. Now, Ghana Health Service too, there was that. Accessing education, there was that. So I'm just using an example as in some of the institutions we even mentioned, like public institutions that people go to access services like education, health, documents, police. When we ask, people alluded to the fact that they have paid bribes just to access services. And these are corrupt acts. And corrupt acts is not just only about money. As I said, it's even abuse of power is also corruption. So we shouldn't look at it as whether you have looted money or not. There's a lot that is involved in thinking about somebody using power to his personal gain or not. Or his position.
The MPs are saying that, well, if somebody is perceiving them to be corrupt, then a person has little understanding of the work they do. Is that a sort of, a view that you do get from the respondent, that they have little understanding of the work of an MP?
No, that wouldn't say, because if you, when we look at the democratic tenants, when we ask them of their view around these things, if they did not understand it, I'm sure they would not be able to answer these things, right? So if you look at whether they say they should be careful of what they say, or political parties, people in office go unpunished for crimes they commit. If they don't understand these issues, they would not answer them. They understand these issues, and these are their views to these issues. When assessing the performance, they do say what the MPs barely listens to them, and they assess MPs fairly badly in performing their duty. So people understand the MPs, their duty.
That's unfortunate. We've lost Mary Zupok Domit. She is the national investigator for Afrobarometer at the CDD Ghana. Now, the office of the president is the second most corrupt public institution in the country after the police. That's the latest in the CDD's Afrobarometer report on democratic governance, trust in institutions, and corruption. Members of parliament and judges follow closely in third and fourth positions, respectively. The report also says the president is one of the least trusted after his own political party, the NPP. Meanwhile, 86% of the respondents said government's fight against corruption has been poor or very bad. The executive director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Linda Oforikwaafo, says the top rating of the presidency is as an institution for corruption is worrying and is calling on government to resource institutions like OSP and the Auditor General's Department to effectively perform their mandate.
That has given them the mandate. And so they don't sit and watch unconcerned and corruption happen in their institutions and the Auditor General come do his report and then we put them on the shelf and another year we are doing it all over again. It's tiring talking about this problem. We know what to do. When we wanted to pass yield levy, we did it swiftly. When it comes to Africa, sub-Saharan region, Africa, we have other countries performing very well. So far as governance indicators are concerned, they are strong governance performers. Talk about the Seychelles, Rwanda, the Botswana, whatever. Don't tell me Quebec. Some of them are islands and small countries. It doesn't matter. Let us start with the islands, go to the ants and learn from them. What we have to do, we know. We are just refusing to do it. One day we'll wake up and corruption has swallowed us. And for me, when I saw the reports from Shraj and Statistics Service last week and got to know institutions like the hospitals and everything, it's so endemic and it's so annoying and it's so disturbing that now from the top, from the presidency to the parliament, to judiciary, to the state institutions, to everywhere, people are being perceived to be corruption. And the Shraj report is no perception. They said it's actuals. And so we are sitting on a time bomb. And this about time we rise up as citizens. I'm not talking about negative energies. I'm not for that kind of rising up. I am for a kind that will take democratic principles into consideration, also bearing in mind the Ghanaians have actually demonstrated once again the Afrobarometer survey findings that they are for democracy. Because that is the only option. Even though they don't have so much trust in the institutions, they still think democracy is the way to go.
Take you to Parliament, where majority of the Privileges Committee want the seat of Dom Kwabenya MP Sarah Adjo-Asafo to be declared vacant. Per copies of the Privileges Committee report that has been laid and cited by JoyNews, the majority say, given that Sarah Adjo-Asafo failed to take the opportunities afforded her to render an explanation on why she should not lose her seat, they conclude that she has to lose that seat. Parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante joins us with details. Kweku, we know that draft report was circulated among members of the committee, which has now materially different from that which was laid in the House on Monday. Tell us more. Kojo, okay, so we're trying to take you to Parliament where we understand that the Privileges Committee has laid their report. A majority on that committee asking for the MP for Dom Kwabenya to lose that seat. Now, Kweku Asante is a man in Parliament. Kweku, we understand that the draft report that was circulated among members of the committee is now materially different from that which was laid in the House on Monday. Tell us more.
So members of the committee were afforded the opportunity to look at the draft report of the Privileges Committee. Indeed, at the time, what our sources told us was that there was a decision, sort of majority decision on Honorable Kennedy Japan and Honorable Henry Kote in terms of they being pardoned because the explanations that they offered, the committee by majority decision deemed it satisfactory. When it came to Sarah Adjo-Asafo, the committee just left it at that and said that the MP did not appear before the committee to offer an explanation, so the committee should now take a decision on her. Now, the report that has been laid in Parliament on Monday says that Sarah Adjo-Asafo, by virtue of failing to appear before the committee to render an explanation in terms of why she did not appear before Parliament, her seat is declared vacant automatically. And what the report does is it states a case, Professor Kweku Asare versus the Attorney General, a past case that dealt with whether or not, by virtue of not explaining or what the Privileges Committee can do in this case. And so that is what the committee is now putting forward to Parliament to consider. What we don't know now is when this report will be taken. It was laid in Parliament on Monday. Today is Wednesday. We know that Parliament is set to go on break from tomorrow, Thursday. What will happen to this report? Are they going to put it on ice until they return from their break? We don't know yet. Is it because of numbers? What exactly is happening? We don't know yet. And by the close of the day tomorrow, we can get that. But the reaction from the minority is that this is not what they agreed on. I spoke to ranking member on that committee, George Kweku Reketsegan, who told me that the report does not reflect what the committee argued and decided on. But of course, the committee now says that what we have decided on is by majority decision. And so it means even if the minority had concerns, because they did not have the numbers on that committee, the majority side are using their numbers to make this recommendation. The committee contends by this majority decision that the vacation of the seat is automatic and that the Parliament itself, the plenary, do not have to take any decision on this. We know that the Speaker of Parliament himself disagrees with this argument. And when this referral was made to the committee, it became a subject of a debate between the Speaker and the majority leader as to whether or not the report of the Privileges Committee is final or is subject to another decision by the plenary. It will be decided when this debate now hits the floor. But the chatter among MPs is what kind of decision can MPs take on Sarah Adjo-Asafo? Can they go with this committee report that says the seat is declared automatically vacant? And so the clerk of Parliament should go ahead and inform the Electoral Commission of this vacancy and conduct a by-election in the Dom Kabenya MP. It will be very interesting today and tomorrow whether this report can be taken, debated, and a decision taken on it, or this will be put on hold until the members of Parliament return from their break.
Do we know exactly when the report is expected to be debated on and voted as well?
That is the challenge now. The report has been laid since Monday, but it has been distributed to members of Parliament also. It is yet to be seen when it will come to the floor for a debate, sort of. This situation is a bit novel because while some members of Parliament argue that the Privileges Committee report is final, and so it is not to be subject to any vote from Parliament, other members of Parliament also disagreed. And that is why we would see what guidance, what ruling the Speaker of Parliament, who is charged with that mandate of giving rulings in the House, will do. Okay. But we do not know whether this report will be taken today or tomorrow when the House is set to go on break. It will be interesting to know what exactly the majority side, who are in charge of government business, who are in charge of deciding what business is done on the floor, will do with this report now that it has been laid.
So that's Kweku Asante in Parliament there. Moving on to other stories. Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has reiterated government's commitment to bridging the widening developmental gap between the Zongos and urbanized Ghana with accelerated construction of dozens educational infrastructure in the Zongos and inner cities. He has also blamed past government for undertaking populist policies in the Zongos, like sharing of handout and food during Ramadan, a practice he says has done very little to improve living conditions in the Zongos. Now, speaking at the commissioning of the newly constructed 6-unit Tunga Islamic School, Dr. Bawumia touted the Akufo-Addo-led administration's interventions in the Zongos, including being the first to make budgetary allocations specifically for the development of the Zongos.
The historic deprivation and lack of development in Zongo communities are issues that the government of the New Patriotic Party, under the visionary the Zongo Development Fund, is the frontline-led agency and vehicle through which government seeks to ensure the realization of the development objectives relating to Zongo communities. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, since Ghana attained independence, we have had no budget item that has ever been consistently and deliberately allocated for the development of Zongo communities in Ghana. Since independence, no government has had a consistent budget item deliberately allocated for the development of Zongo communities. Previous governments have largely attended to the needs of Zongo communities by providing rice and sugar during Ramadan and Eid celebrations. The MPP government under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is the first government in the history of Ghana that has established a deliberate vehicle, the Zongo Development Fund, with a consistent budgetary allocation for Zongo communities.
Now, he also listed a number of completed and ongoing developmental projects executed by the administration across the country.
Since its establishment, the Zongo Development Fund has executed over 300 projects, including classrooms, health facilities, roads, water system, bridges, drainage systems, libraries, ICT centers, and many Zongo communities across the country. We have also built many modern AstroTurf football fields in many Zongo communities for the youth. Nationally, the breakdown of the about 300 projects are as follows. We are constructing community sports and social centers, AstroTurfs, around the country. 19 are being constructed and 10 have been completed. 6-unit classroom blocks, 65 are being constructed and 35 have been completed, like the Tunga School. 4-unit classroom blocks, 3 are being constructed and 2 have been completed. The 3-unit classroom blocks, 2 are being constructed and they have all been completed. Basic school furniture, 2,050 units have been supplied of furniture to over 30 educational institutions and all have been completed. Then the installation of street lights, 2,406 in over 40 communities, 2,406 street lights have been installed and all have been completed.
Speaking at the commissioning, Communications Minister Esla Osu Ekufo said completion of the facility is testament that the Akufo-Addo-led government is a keeper of promise.
Some people thought that it was a campaign gimmick. Because it was close to the elections, we were coming to deceive the people that we will build it. And they didn't want to risk demolishing their only Islamic school for a new building which may not happen. The contractor eventually had to bring building materials here to show the people that it wasn't a campaign gimmick, but we really intended to build this structure. And here we are today with this beautiful structure with modern facilities where our children can get quality Islamic education in a decent atmosphere. So despite the fact that people think politicians are liars, let me remind us all that this building here is testament to the fact that President Akufo-Addo and his appointees are honest politicians.
Now, about 800 boarding students from the Saltpond Methodist High School risk losing their boarding status due to a dilapidated dormitory infrastructure in the school. The girls have to keep vigil and pack their books and other academic materials to safety whenever it rains because their dormitory leaks badly and also has developed cracks. The Parent-Teacher Association of the school says their children have been making distress calls to them about the disturbing situation. Richard Kojo visited the school and reports the situation is affecting academic work of the girls. He has more in this report.
This is the dormitory block here at the Sawpond Methodist High School. This very block houses 3 houses, and the inhabitant may be forced to go home or commute from home if nothing is done about the integrity of the building. Not only does the building leak terribly when it rains, but what compounds the problem are cracks that are all over the building. To say the students are worried is an understatement. They say the situation has made life unbearable on campus.
The ceilings, they are in a very bad state. When it rains, we can't stay inside. Sometimes we have to pull the beds for it. Sometimes we have to remove our beds from the case of the bed where we put our bed.
There is leakage. When it rains, you have to stay awake. So the next morning, like we are really suffering. We are really suffering. It saddens me. It falls directly into our room. It seems there is no roofing. It's so like it's.
When it rains, we really suffer. We really suffer sometimes, and the bed bugs, and it's really heartbreaking.
During the night, you see some of the place leaking, and it really makes our things, our stuff go wet, and people had their things very wet, and a lot of things happened. Their lockers, water entered to their lockers, and they had their provisions and everything messed up.
Apart from the dormitory block that has issues, the science block of the school suffers even more serious issues. This, they say, has a huge impact on the academic work on campus.
Especially in our chemistry and physics labs and the biology as well. The rain sweeps here into the room and the room just gets flooded. So it becomes very difficult for us to take practicals.
By the time we come from the dormitory here for practicals, the place will be flooded.
Dennis Brown teaches here. He is distraught about the situation and wants an urgent support for the school.
You know, we've made a report to management, and we've tried some repair works, petty ones, but because of the season we found ourselves in, that was 2 months ago. The moment we do the temporary structures to help the students to do practicals, it gets spoiled again. The whole place gets flooded. Yes, flooded. We feel very bad as teachers, but there's nothing we can do. We just have to try and impact the knowledge. Some of these things goes beyond our efforts. There's nothing we can do, and we can't say because of that we are not going to teach. So we teach. That is it. So we teach. If we have to stand in it to conduct WASI for the external supervisor to also come and see this thing, we were all there inside.
The Parent Association chairman of the school, Isaac Kweku grandson, says the development is worrying and must be given an urgent attention. He says as parents, they have pulled resources to enable them tackle the problem, but the issue appears bigger than their efforts.
I also had distress calls from the parents, and then we came here, we had a look at it. First, we went to Municipal NADMO office, we went to the MCE's office, and Municipal Director of Education's office. They told us to put it into writing. We've done that. They are saying we'll hear from them, not heard from them yet. And then the calls that comes, there are many. The student will tell you, Daddy, we are not be able to sleep. We don't sleep during the night. And then when we see that the rains are coming, we have to run from the classroom to come and put our things in order. And it is very pathetic. I've limited all my prayers to 2, that it shouldn't rain, and the other one that someone somewhere to come and help. Because as a parent and as a PTA chairman, I don't sleep when I hear calls that my school is deteriorating.
The school authorities appear disturbed by the situation but declined comments on the developments. Reporting for JoyNews, Richard Kojo, Cape Coast.
Now, embarking on a long journey drive demands full concentration on the road, especially on the highways. And for your safety as a driver and that of your passengers, you will have to avoid activities that are energy demanding, like having sex. According to a road safety analyst, Cecil Gabra, having sex is like running a 100-meter marathon, which can cause fatigue while driving. He is therefore advising long journey drivers to avoid such activities before traveling.
Who suffers from fatigue? Drivers who do not plan their trip, drivers who stay drinking at night, drivers who work overnight, drivers who have sex during their journey. They are all part of it.
Drivers who do what?
They have sex during their journey. Okay. You don't. God created sex, you have sex. If you're a man, you are knocked off, you'll be sleeping. And that is why, I mean, immediately after sex, you find the man either snoring. He's tired. He's run more than 100 meters. So you don't go and sit behind the steering wheel to drive. I'm becoming a doctor.
I do know, is it pheromones or hormones? Some things are released once you engage in such activity, and naturally, they tend to knock you off. But that's a bit extreme. I mean.
Yeah, it is true. It happens. And then lastly, what I want to tell everybody is that if you are traveling, sleep early and wake up early, but don't set off early like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. You meet those who did not sleep, especially those heavy-duty drivers who will not sleep. They spend their time drinking at night. Most of them, you know, have, I mean, this is something that I did, some investigations that I did some 10, 15 years ago, especially those who come from other countries, right? During the night, they...
Cecil Galra with Benjamin Akapo there. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll bring you latest from the world of business. Stay with us.
It's time now for business. I am Beverly Broom. The Ministry for Lands and Natural Resources, in an attempt to monitor the actual volumes of bauxite and manganese entering the port of Takoradi for export, has commissioned a wage bridge at Apemenim in the Ahantime West District of the Western Region. Now, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abujinapo, during the commissioning said the wage bridge is crucial for the country to track the export of such products and their revenues.
Manganese and bauxite forms a substantial component of Ghana's mineral inventory. Since their discovery, it has been exploited mainly from Nsuta and Awaso in the western and western north regions, contributing to Ghana's socio-economic development. Historically, the Ghana Manganese Company and Ghana Bauxite Company are involved in the exploitation of these minerals, relied on rails for the transportation of the minerals to the Takoradi port for export. Over the years, however, the downward trend in Ghana Railway Company's capacity to provide a required service have compelled the companies to transport the minerals they produce via road. Apart from the longer distance and cost involved, transportation of these minerals by road has other consequences such as road traffic, safety challenges to communities along the haulage corridor, and rapid deterioration of the road network due to mismatch between the road's capacity and haulage vehicle axle loads. Most of these challenges, as well as allegations of inaccurate reporting of figures, are as a result of lack of enforcement and poor monitoring of bulk hauling activities. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abujinapo, has revealed.
To address these issues, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and the Minerals Commission engaged stakeholders and undertook site visits to the operational areas of the mining companies and the Takoradi port to assess the facilities in place for the haulage of these minerals. It was revealed after these engagements that the country lacked tracking mechanism to track and audit actual volumes of bauxite and manganese produced and exported. This weak monitoring mechanism results in huge loss of revenue to the state. It therefore became necessary to put in place a robust system that will help us determine accurately at each given time the actual volumes of these minerals transported and the amount due the state. This requires that we repair faulty way bridges, construct additional ones, and properly calibrate them to provide accurate results. Consequently,
The Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources took the decision to construct two-way bridges, one here in Apimenim, which we commissioned today, and another in Awaso in the Bibiani Ahweso Bekwai municipality of the Western North region.
Western Regional Minister Kobna Oshridakon Mensah, expressing the benefit of the way bridge, indicated that it will prevent the fast deterioration of the road due to the overloaded haulage trucks.
We know for a fact that the cars that ply these roads, especially the heavy-duty ones, have a lot of effect on our roads. And therefore, it is important that they pay and account rightly to the people of Ghana through the measures we've been putting here. Before this was installed, we all knew what was happening, that the measurement of bauxite and manganese in Ghana always did not correlate with what was seen in other people's country. And therefore, the President of the Republic of Ghana, through his ministers, was to ensure that we'll get these measurements right.
For Joy News, in Athalia Kwanza, Western Region.
Aspiring entrepreneurs have been urged to dispel stereotypes that hold them back from launching their own businesses. Industry players claim lack of finance, fear of taking risk, and the belief that entrepreneurs are created rather than born are all barriers to their success. However, participants at the 2022 edition of the National Youth Mentorship Summit held in Kumasi have been asked to go all out to establish successful businesses.
The National Youth Mentorship Summit is to empower the youth and guide them on leveraging opportunities. Facilitators provided career guidance, coaching and mentoring for participants. Chief Executive Officer of Let's Go Ghana, Arnold Parker, cautioned participants on some myths and misconceptions on entrepreneurship.
All the money in Ghana is in Accra is a myth. And so this whole thing of we are all going back to Accra to make money is something we should decompose. There's so much money outside of Accra to be made outside of Accra. Now, another myth that we have to break is the fact that graduates can't do menial jobs. We find all these very funny news stories and blogs. Oh, first class graduate selling charcoal, first class graduate selling bread and speaking good English. And when I read this, I'm like, and what's wrong if I have a degree in maths and I'm selling bread?
In recent years, requirements for the job market have substantially changed, but teaching methods in schools have remained the same. Employers find the graduates lacking in soft skills, creativity, and problem-solving skills. Economist Sam Ankra finds this worrying.
Isn't this ironic? When a university like ours, this one, built over generations and decades, purposely to produce scientists, innovators, creative individuals, and yet the most basic of basics, that is our agriculture, which has been the mainstream of our economy, over the years has not seen any enhancement, progress, or technological advancement from this institution.
On global markets, Ghanaian producers compete with other foreign producers.
That's all for business now, but we have more business on Marketplace at 1 p.m. Up next, the sports.